on my name is Ankur Patel. I'm the Director of Advancement for Hindu University of America. Thank you all for joining us on this webinar with Dr. Balakrishnan Muniyappan, Balaji for short. And we're going to be covering this, this webinar on not just the Ramayana, but obviously the timeless story. You know, it's the archetypal battle between Dharma and Adharma, in which Dharma emerges victorious, but only after a great struggle. And so there are so many relevant, timely lessons in the 7 books, the Kandas of the Ramayana, and we can learn a lot about that in the aspects of management and leadership. And so in this webinar, we're going to get insights on that from Dr. Balakrishnan Muniyappan, again, Balaji for short. He's taught the Ramayana around the world in so many different ways. Let me give him a quick introduction as we get started. So he's actually a human resource management specialist, and he actually got conferred the best professor in HRM for short, human resources management, at the World Education Congress. So he's traveled the world, made presentations, done research papers. He's been all around the world, the Middle East, Australia, South Pacific, Africa, Europe, and we're glad to have him at Hindu University of America, bringing his knowledge and experience to us. And let me just hand it over to him before this audio gets too bad on my end, and he's going to have a presentation. Thank you for joining us. If you want to put in the chat where you are zooming in from, we got people from Montreal to Malaysia. I'm in Los Angeles, Canada, all around the world. It's always beautiful to see where you are zooming in from if you want to put that in the chat. Balaji, let me hand it off to you and we can start the presentation.
Thank you, Ankurji, for your introduction. And I would also want to thank Kalyanji for organization of this webinar, and also to all the participants who are here, who are attending this webinar on Ramayana for excellence in management and leadership. Let me share my slide. I'll be doing a slide presentation for about 45 minutes. And then we will be going into the preview of the course on Ramayana for excellence in management and leadership. And we will be taking the question and answer sessions after the presentation. Okay, the topic of this webinar is on Ramayana, Ramayana for management and leadership. Ramayana have been explored by many scholars over the centuries. They have explored Ramayana from various perspectives. So in this course, we are going to look at Ramayana from the perspective of management and leadership. Now, before I go into the content of the presentation, let me tell you that Ramayana is considered to be the essence of the Vedas. This is clearly mentioned in the Dhyana Sloka of Ramayana of Valmiki. So when I say Ramayana here, it refers to Valmiki Ramayana. If there are reference to other Ramayanas, I will mention whether it is Ramcharitmanas, Sri Ramavadaram, or Adhyatma Ramayana, or many other versions of Ramayana. So in the Dhyana Sloka of Valmiki Ramayana, it is mentioned that a Veda itself was revealed by Valmiki Muni in form of Ramayana when Rama, the goal of Vedas, came as son of Dasaratha. Veda Vidye Pare Pumsi Jade Dasaratha Atmache Veda Prachedasa Ashit Dakshat Ramayanat Manaha. So Ramayana is considered to be the essence of the Vedas. Of course, you have the Mahabharata, the other Hidiyasa. That is also considered to be part of Veda, where it is said, Bharado Panchamo Veda. The Mahabharata is considered to be the 5th Veda. Okay, let us look at the content of what I will be sharing with you or presenting to you. For first 10 minutes, I will be focusing about some of the current challenges, current and also future challenges in the field of management and leadership. Every one of you have a potential to become a great leader. So we will look at this a bit more in terms of the leadership in the present and also for the future. And then we will be looking at the Ramayana. The Ramayana in this age of disruption and in the VUCA world. We are moving to a stage where we call industry. Currently, we are in the industry 4.0, and from 4.0, we will be moving into 5.0. So there will be a questions whether Ramayana will be relevant in this age or not. So we will be looking at the relevance of Ramayana. And then for 15 to 20 minutes, I will be focusing on the lessons, some of the lessons, not all, because it's not within the scope of this webinar to cover all the lessons related to management and leadership from Ramayana. So it will be, I will be looking at from Balakanda, Ayutthaya Kandam mainly, and I might take some from the other kandas, Aranya Kanda, Kishkinda Kanda, Sundara Kandam, and also Yuddha Kandam. Okay, then the last part will be the preview of the course with question and answers. Okay, we'll be using this term management and leadership. Are they similar? Are they all different? Okay, what are the difference between leadership and management? In some aspects of the tasks that the leader and a manager, what they do, they are similar, but there are also differences. So we're going to look into, within the course, one of the areas we will be looking into is a distinction between these two, leadership and management. In a nutshell, I can tell you that leadership is more on effectiveness, whereas management is more on efficiency. Leadership is about doing right things, whereas management is about doing things right. Okay, so we're not going to go into this in this webinar, but in a course that we will be taking on Ramayana for management and leadership, this will be covered during the course. Okay, let us look at the challenges that we are facing in the world from the perspective of management and leadership. Firstly, management. When you say management and leadership, it is an interdisciplinary field. Now, what do we mean by interdisciplinary field? Interdisciplinary means this field has contribution from many other disciplines. Like when you look at management, leadership, there are contributions coming from fields such as psychology, social psychology, sociology, anthropology, political science, economics, finance, and in the recent days, we look at even philosophy and also history. So when we look at Ramayana, we can consider as an history and also philosophy. Lessons from the Ramayana, even if you take the Mahabharata, has a lot to offer to the fields such as management and leadership. And in fact, management and leadership is also one of the most popular topic of discussion. If you are looking at the leadership, it's not only within the context of organization, but also within the political context. A political context, we can look at how a country is governed, how the state is governed. It's all about leadership. According to John Maxwell, leadership is the important determinant. Everything rises or falls due to leadership. And the leaders makes difference. So we want to develop leaders. So how do we develop leaders? We can look from various sources of information, what it takes to build great leaders. And in this course, the focus will be from the Ramayana. Okay. Then of course, the other area when you look into leadership is that the study about leadership, the theories of leadership have evolved over the centuries. Sometimes it is important for us to know the past to understand the present and to shape the future. Lord Buddha says that where you are now is based on what or where you have been in the past, and where you are going to be tomorrow is going to be based on what you are going to do today. So it's important to look into the how the leadership and management evolve from theories such as trait theory, behavioral theory, contingency theory, situational theory, to current concept of leadership such as transformational leadership, transcendental leadership, servant leaderships, and so on. And another important thing for us to note is that according to CCL, that is Center for Creative Leadership, they say that in an organizations today, we have many managers or administrators, but very few leaders. Very few leaders. There are many managers, the people who can manage, but not many who can lead. And leadership gap exists today in organization. Even if you are looking at politics, in some countries, leadership gap exists. Now, what do we mean by this leadership gap? Leadership gap is a difference between what the people expect from the leader and what the leader delivers. There's a huge gap. Okay. And challenges today in the field of management and leadership in the age of disruption, VUCA world. Now, VUCA world, later on, I will tell you what do we mean by this term VUCA world. And of course, the world is experiencing a pandemic called COVID-19. A lot of challenges for leaders and managers in organizations to deal with this pandemic. And we are moving towards Industry 5.0 from 4.0. Okay, this is about the stages of the paradigm, how we have moved from one paradigm to another paradigm. Okay, I mentioned about VUCA. Now, whether Ramayana is relevant during this VUCA world? Yes, it is relevant. Okay, VUCA simply means the world today is a world that keeps changing, volatility, volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous. Even in Ramayana, you can find this term VUCA. It's not you use the term VUCA as it is, but many areas you find things that are uncertain, complex, volatile. When you move into from when Rama moves, the Ramayana moves from Ayodhya Kanda to Aranya Kanda, you are moving into unfamiliar environment. Environment is totally unfamiliar. You need to deal with the environment, deal with the complexity, deal with the people that you meet. And as it moves towards Kishinda Kandam, and then in Sundara Kandam, you learn about Hanuman. First time Hanuman enters Lanka, he was in an unfamiliar environment. He need to scan the environment, to know, to look for the Sita. Then of course in Yuddha Kandam as well. So VUCA, it's there. Okay, and due to VUCA, even in an organizations today, jobs and jobs requirements are also changing. Jobs and jobs requirements. Some of the jobs are becoming redundant. Jobs in next 5 years to 10 years, you don't have to wait for 10 years. In next 5 years, some of the jobs that people are doing now might become redundant and new jobs might be created. So that is an impact of VUCA, and the world is changing. Now, Ramayana, come to Ramayana. Now, how Ramayana will be relevant for you to learn about management and leadership. So, brief background about Ramayana. You know Ramayana consists of 7 books or khandam. We call khandam. We call khandas or khandam. About 24,000 slokas, not exactly 24,000 slokas if you do a calculation. You have 7 books. And what are the 7 books? Balakanda, 77 chapter, describes the childhood of Rama. Ayodhya Kandam, planning for coronation of Rama, and then Rama will be sent to the forest. Narada will come back, and then he will try to go. He will go to Rama and try to persuade him to come back, and then he ended up taking sandals of Rama. Then Aranyakanda, the life in the forest, a lot of incidents happens in the Aranyakanda. Kishkindakanda, where Rama, Lakshmana will meet Sugriva with the help of Hanuman, and then search towards for Sita. And then Sundarakanda is entirely about Hanuman, exploits of Hanuman in Lanka. And then Yuddhakanda is a book of war. And Uttarakanda is the last part of the Ramayana after the Pattabhisheka of Rama, coronation of Rama. You have the part of Uttarakanda where some of the incidents, there will be an explanation of certain incident that happened earlier in Uttarakanda. Okay, there are more, close to 600. If you are looking up to Yuddhakandam, there will be about over 500 chapters. And if you are including Uttarakandam, there are about more than 600 chapters in Valmiki Ramayana. Now, what is the relevance of Ramayana for management and leadership in this age? I was explaining to you earlier about VUCA. A world that is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. So is Ramayana relevant? So in order to answer this question, we need to ask another question, that is human nature constant, or is it molded by technology and culture? Can a human nature be completely changed by technology, culture, or society? Questions you can ask yourself around you in the society, in the organizations that you work, in a community that you are in. Do you see characters like Dasarada, Kausalya, Dasarada? Okay, character of Dasarada is a bit unique to understand Dasarada. Dasarada is someone who will make his promise without thinking, and then later he will regret what he has said. Many times you will find this in Ramayana. Okay, Dasarada, Kausalya, Sumitra, Kaikeyi, Mantara, Maricha, Surpanaka, Jatayu, Sugriva, Jambavan, Trijata, Kumbhakarna, Vibhishana, Malyavan. These are all characters from the Ramayana. Some of these characters you can still find today around us. So we will be learning some of the characters. We will be looking at not only the leadership and management style of Lord Rama, but we will be also looking into other characters as well. In fact, Surpanaka and Maricha and Surpanaka also have given very important lessons in management and leadership about governance. Even Malyavan about strategy. So these are the things that we will be looking at from the characters, lessons, and also from certain incidents from the Ramayana. So the relevance of Ramayana, no doubt, it is still relevant today. And this has been confirmed by Lord Brahma to Valmiki. He said, Yavat stashanti giriyaha saritasya mahitale tavat Ramayana katha lokeshu pracharishate. As long as the mountains and even rivers flourish on the surface of the earth, the Ramayana will flourish in this world. Okay, now Ramayana for management and leadership. What we will be doing in this course is an inquiry. Jignasha. You learn in the Brahma Sutra also starts with Atato Brahma Jigyasha. Now is the time to inquire. So we will be looking into Ramayana to inquire about how we, that means every one of us, all the participants who are attending this course, who will be attending this course, will be able to inquire about the best practices from there. So we will be looking at from the leadership and management perspective to solve current leadership and management problems. If you might be a leader currently, you might be a CEO of an organization, a director of an organization, or someone who's starting to take up the career in management and leadership. you might find a lot of problems, issues within an organizational context that you need to find answers. So some of the discussions that we will be taking during this course will be able to help you find answers to deal with the situation. Sometimes people face conflicting dharma, or what we call dharma shankata. Dharma shankata means you have another conflicting dharma. Which one that you need to choose? In Ramayana, you can find a lot in Ramayana. In fact, if you take Mahabharata, also a lot of things on the dharma shankata. What to do in that particular situation? Are you going to look into a specific dharma, or bigger, so micro dharma or macro dharma? Many things that we will be looking at through careful analysis, systematic analysis. Okay, and learning Ramayana and leadership, you are moving from a red ocean to a blue ocean. This is about strategy. People who are familiar with the field of strategy will know what is blue ocean strategy and red ocean strategy. So if we tend to learn certain things from what already have been written several times. We go through sometimes even certain research that I see. I'm an external examiner for thesis in the PhD thesis in the field of management, human resource management and employment law, where I find that people do the same research again and again. That is nothing new that they contribute. So it's important to look into moving from the existing paradigm of learning to something new. We can learn from many things. In fact, if you look at in the Srimad Bhagavatam, there are many mentions about people who learn from nature, even from the nature, even from the environment. Okay, so this is something like a blue ocean strategy in learning management, taking from the what they call the idihasa, such as the Ramayana and also the Mahabharata. Okay, now, okay, so far anyone with questions, you can use the audio, or if you want to ask, you can even use the audio. You can on your audio or you can type. So I hope you are able to follow so far. Okay. All right. Okay. Let me go into some of the management and leadership development from the Ramayana. Okay. If you are looking at the Balakanda of Ramayana, Balakandam is the first book of Ramayana, Valmiki Ramayana. In fact, when you look at the Balakandam, the first chapter, the first 4 slokas, it starts with the appearance of Narada Muni. You know, Valmiki will meet Narada Muni. The first sloka starts Tapashvat Dhyaya Niratam Tapashvin Vakvidam Varam Naradam Paripaprapcha Valmiki Muni Pungavam. It starts with Tapa, Shvat Dhyaya. Everything that you do, you have to do some austerity. You need to self-learn. You need to do some austerity in order to acquire certain things. Okay. It starts with a question by Valmiki to Narada. And the question, if you do an analysis, is about leadership. He will be asking the question, who is he in this world at this present moment who possesses the following qualities? People who have read the Ramayana will know this sloka. Konvashmin sampratam loke gunavan kascha viryavan dharmaknyascha kritaknyascha satyavakyo drudavradaha. Who is he in this world who possesses the following qualities? Who is knower of dharma, who remembers and grateful for the help received, who stands by his word, pursues his goal to the completion. Then it follows, Charitrena chako yuktaha sarva bhuteshu kohitaha vidvan kakka samartasya kacha eka priya darshanaha. Who is he? A man of great character, who always wishes to do good things to all the living beings. Sarva bhuteshu kohitaha. who is well versed in all aspects of life, who is capable of getting the most challenging things done. Then you have the sloka number 4, chapter 1 of Balakanda says, Atma vanko jita krodo dutimanko anusuyaka kasya bibyasti devasya jata roshasya samyoge. Atma vanko, one who's able to control himself, who's able to manage himself. Jita krodo, who can control the anger. So these are, when you're looking into the 16, there are 16 here, but not all 16 will be applicable in all contexts. What is needed is that sometimes for us as a student of Ramayana, as someone who reads the Ramayana, what can we learn from this? What are the qualities that we need to develop within ourselves? For example, control of our Atma Vanko, Jita Krodo. Jita Krodo, this is, when you say Kroda is one of the enemy. In the entire Ramayana, when you are learning it from the perspective of management and leadership, we are looking at inside-out perspective. What is inside out? We need to manage yourself before you manage outside, externally. Internally, you need to develop. Internally, you need to lead yourself. That is what we call inside out. Then you have outside in. If you look at most of the leadership books people have written over the years, it's mostly outside in rather than inside out. So inside out is you need to conquer yourself. So what do you do? The enemies within you, Kama, Kroda, Lobha, Mada, Matsarya, all these. Okay, Kroda, I'm sure you learn. If you are not able to control, Bhagavad Gita itself mentions. Krodat bhavati shamohat, shamohat smriti vibramaha, smriti brahmshat buddhinaso, buddhinashat pranashyatihi. Okay, let's move on. Leadership and governance. No, see, another thing that you can look at from the Ramayana, chapter 5 and 6 from first book, we learn about how a country should be governed. What do we mean by governance? In Ramayana, we learn about different types of Rajyam. In the beginning, you have Dasarata Rajya, and then you have Paduka Rajya. During the time before Rama came back from the forest, Paduka ruled Ayodhya via Bharata. Paduka Rajya, and then from Paduka Rajya, then you have Rama Rajya. And then, of course, in other parts, other Rajas are also described. Rajyam in Kishkinda, Rajyam in Lanka, how the change in Rajya in Kishkinda from Vali to Sugriva, transformation took place, Vali to Sugriva, and then from in Lanka, Ravana to Vibhishana. They are Rajas. You see, this part talks about Dasarata Rajya Paripalanam. What are the outcome of good governance? How do we govern in an effective way? This is about more on political leadership, about governance. So, Dasarata Rajya, a lot of description mentioned, chapter 7, when you want to select the ministers, what are the qualities they should have, how you need to test them in order to select the right people. We're going to look into it from the management perspective, selection. How do we get the right people for the right job at the right time, for the right pay, right people with the right motivation? Usually we say this in a human resource planning is all about getting the right number of right people for the right job at the right time, for the right pay, right motivation and all that. This is about selection. Then you can also look into the style. No? Okay, one particular incident, if you look into in chapter 16 in the Balakanda, all the Devas, they came, with Brahma came and surrendered to Lord Vishnu. This is about Saranagati, the first Saranagati in Ramayana. Then, of course, you have one of the Saranagati at the end, the Vibhishana Saranagati. Saranagati means surrender here. The famous one is, of course, the Sakrudeva Prapannaya Tavashmiti Chayachate Abbayam Sharvabuttevyo Dadamyetat Vradamama, where Rama gives this assurance, which is considered to be the Charama Sloka. Over here, Deva surrenders to Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu knows the way, but even though he knows the way what to do, but he still requests feedback from the people, feedback from the Devas. This is what we call democratic management, democratic leadership. Get the opinion from your people before you make a decision. You don't be all the time authoritarian. Of course, at certain times, a leader needs to be autocratic. So this is about leadership, leadership style. And of course, in chapter 1, okay, I will not be covering in depth, but I will tell you a lot of other lessons that can be taken from chapter 1. It's not chapter 1, book 1. For example, from chapter 42 to 44, we will be exploring about how Bhagirath brought Ganga to the earth. This is about tapasya, austerity and self-effort. Remember the first sloka, tapashwa dhyaya. Then, of course, we also learn Vishwamitra. Vishwamitra, how he transformed himself. These are something that you can look at from the managerial perspective for models of self-management and leadership. And of course, when you move into the other book, Ayodhya Kanda, about qualities of a leader, a lot of things have been mentioned about qualities of leadership qualities of Lord Rama. As we move into chapter 2 of Ayodhya Kanda, we will be learning about participative management again and succession planning. So Dasaratha, King Dasaratha, although Rama, his son, he did not decide immediately. He did not take his own decision. He addressed the assembly to get the opinion of the assembly, opinion of the ministers. Get the opinion of the ministers before he makes a decision. This is participative management, participative leadership. So what we find here, succession planning. Now, succession planning is a very important part of business continuity. If you want a business to continue, if you want an organization to grow, you need to make sure you plan the successor. Succession planning, many organizations today in the world, worldwide, I can tell you, not only within Malaysia, I can find a lot of such examples. Some of the organizations have unable to sustain because there's no proper succession planning. Succession planning even at the top level, even at the middle level. At the different positions, certain position, someone resigns and leaves the organization. They will be in a crisis, do not know who is going to take over. That is why the succession planning is important. The Ramayana also teaches you about succession planning. Okay, as we move on, succession planning and also Rama's Dasaratha advice to Rama, we can find a lot of such advice throughout Ramayana. In many of the kandas we will be learning about in also specifically certain incidents in Ramayana. Okay, another thing in Ayodhya Kanda about learning the art of persuasion. How do we persuade people? See, you remember Ayodhya Kanda, Kaikeyi, when she heard the news that Rama is going to be appointed, she was very happy. But what happened to her happiness? When Mantara said, but Rama is going to be the next to be appointed. But learn the art of persuasion. See, today, if you look into books written about persuasion, there are many books on persuasion skills. You can do a search, a lot have been written. But students of Ramayana, I would request, read chapter 8 of Ayodhya Kanda. How the transformation, how Kaikeyi was transformed. What was the step? What was the art of persuasion Mantara used? How Mantara changed Kaikeyi? I can go step by step, but not within the scope of this webinar for us to go into that. This is something that you will be learning, the art of persuasion. Okay. And also Ayutthaya Kandam, chapter 19 is about emotional intelligence. Rama was told he will be the person who will be the next king. And then he was told that he has to go to the forest. So Rama was in an equal position. I remember there is a sloka in the Bhagavad Gita, Sukhe dukkha sama krutva labha labho jaya jaya. The concept of Sita Prajnan, whether you are happy, you need to be stable. You need to be able to tolerate. The learning this is easy, but people to practice, sometimes a practice of equanimity. If we take from the Bhagavad Gita, many slokas about equanimity. Equanimity is yoga, samatvam yoga uchyate. You have many about equanimity, learning about equanimity. Always be stable. Matra sparsastu kaunteya sitoshna shukha dukkada agama payino nityas tam titiksta shiva bharada. Equanimity. Okay. This is about emotional intelligence. Okay, I'm looking at the time. I have, okay, emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence from Daniel Coleman talks about 4 quadrants. So we're going to mash that into the model of a modern context of management, that is emotional intelligence. What is emotional intelligence? Self-awareness, self-management, awareness of other people, social skills, which is a relationship management. Relationship management is another important component of emotional intelligence. This is about social intelligence. In a modern context, you have a book, Daniel Coleman also written about emotional intelligence and also social intelligence. So in Ramayana, we will also be learning about social intelligence. How do we interact with people? Learn from the examples of Rama. Okay, his interactions, his relationship with his brothers, with his friends, ministers, people, sages. About emotional stability, even Wali, at the time he was about to quit his body, final words, he will be telling Angada, oh Angada, neither should you show excessive love, nor should you stay cold. Both would be serious mistake. Hence, you should always stick to the middle path. This is an advice even Wali giving to his son Angada at the time he is about to quit his body. Emotional stability, emotional intelligence, a lot of lessons that you can derive about emotional intelligence from the Ramayana. Let me go on. Counseling, there are also models of counseling. Counseling, Sumitra. Sumitra is somebody who is emotionally intelligent. In Ramayana, we learn about character of Sumitra. Sumitra is a mother of Lakshmana. So again, psychology of depression. How do we help people overcome depression? During this time for Kausalya, Sumitra again. If you go through chapter 62 about depression and look at the models on how do we handle depression, linked to the Ramayana. We'll also learn it from Ramayana in a practical way, the dialogue, the conversation. What did Sumitra did? What did this Sumitra said? So whenever there are people go through depression, depression is a worst stage, but we have to help people to overcome quickly. Even today, people are facing mental health. People, like when COVID started, everyone throughout the world, they were shocked. They were in a state of denial. They would say this is a disease in China. It's not going to come to us. But within a few weeks, it has been exported from China throughout the world. People get frustrated when they were locked down. There were people who were depressed. But of course, slowly they get back to the normal, getting into a normal or new normal. So how do we overcome this depression? Then the lot of lessons in leadership and management will come from chapter 100 of Ayutthaya Kanda, where Rama will be teaching management and leadership, management and governance via questions. all the questions that he will be asking Bharata will be about management and leadership. What are the things a leader or a manager or a governor, okay, or a king should do? About 70 over questions. All this is a masterpiece, I can say, in the field of governance and administration. Okay, moving on. Communication will also be covered. Everyone knows in the first meeting between Rama and Hanuman, Rama was impressed with the Hanuman. Hanuman is an expert in he's called a Nava Vyakarana Pandita, one who knows the art of communication. He communicated very well. So these are the following things that Rama spoke, and it's about communication. What are the ways, art of communication? Okay, task management, we will be also learning Sugriva. Sugriva knows the art of management very well. He demonstrated conceptual skills, human skills, technical skills, project management skills, and he has a good knowledge about the geography of the world. Part of the area that we can go through will be about geography, the world geography during the time of Ramayana. But of course, that's not going to be our main focus here. The focus will be more on management and leadership. There have been scholars who have written a lot on geographical aspects of the Ramayana and geography. For example, many people say the Lanka of Ramayana, Sri Lanka today, is it the same as Lanka in Ramayana? There are many people who dispute. There are people who say the Lanka is much more, that Lanka would have been submerged, because the description mentioned by Valmiki is 100 yojanas. 1 yojana is equivalent to about 8 miles. So that are some of the other areas, although not within the scope of the course, but we can talk about it during the discussion. Okay, motivation, a lot about motivation you can find in Ramayana. Inspirational motivation. Hanuman was not aware about his own strength. Jambavan was there. Jambavan reminded Hanuman. Is a form of transformation, because many of us, when you're looking into the modern context of windows, these are called Johari window. Many of us, we do not know about ourselves. A lot of things within us that we are not aware. Okay, there are a lot of things that we need the other people who knows about it to remind us. But of course, this model will also be covered when we go into that. And then also about learning. Even from Hanuman's incident, there is a transformation. How Hanuman transformed himself. So when Jambavan said, when you were a child, you saw the sun rise in the sky, you thought it was a fruit, you sprang up 300 yojanas to clutch it from the sun. Indra struck you down with a thunderbolt, you fell down, your chin was broken, you came to be known as Hanuman. Then when his glory was sung, he said, of course I can cross this ocean. I'm able to cross this ocean. I shall proceed to Lanka with the speed of missile discharged by Rama. So he moved from a fear zone, comfort zone, fear zone, learning zone to a growth zone. Okay, I think I have covered the content part of the presentation. If you have anybody have any questions, feel free to interact with me. In a class, I would prefer interaction. Don't expect me to give lectures. Maybe in this webinar, I give you a bit more of it's like one way mostly, but during the class, it will be mostly interaction, ask questions. The only way that we can learn is that we need to ask questions. We need to question things that you are not very clear. So I'm going to stop share the slide, and then I'm going to share the course information. And then let me share the course information. And now before
I also dropped course information in the chat, including the link where you can read. The time is going to be 6 p.m. Eastern to 7:30 p.m. Eastern on Sundays. Go ahead, Balaji.
Okay, there is a question here. Will we be have exclusive course on counseling? Okay, that Ankurji will be able to answer that. exclusive, just specific to counseling. If you are looking into counseling from the Ramayana, it will be covered during the session, but it's not specific course on counseling. Okay, okay. You all be able, are you able to see the screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
This is the course. The title, Ramayana for Excellence in Management and Leadership. Now, who can take this course? It's not limited to people who hold management and leadership position in an organization. Any aspiring leaders or managers, anyone who's starting a career in leadership, in management, this course will be useful, because this course is we are trying to integrate Ramayana with management and leadership. Now you might be wondering, why am I want to teach such a course? Because when I started to do readings on management, when I started my faculty, when I used to teach, I tend to see a lot of Sun Tzu Art of War, Confucianism. Many of the Chinese literatures have been used in the context of management and leadership, especially Sun Tzu Art of War. Many books has been written within the context of strategic management and strategic planning. Then when I read the Ramayana, Mahabharata, and the Puranas, I tend to see a lot of things from the management and leadership angle. But not many courses are offered, even in the Indian universities or most other institutions, about Ramayana, Mahabharata in management and leadership. Therefore, I thought about developing such a course specific to management and leadership. Okay, that is a brief background. Okay. When the course is going to commence, 16th of January, and it will end in March 27th. Time will be 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Eastern time on Sundays. For me, it will be Mondays, 7 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. in Malaysia. I think in India, it will be, those of you who are in India, it will be 4:30, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. Okay, in the chat, okay, there are questions. Any prerequisites? No. No prerequisite. See, even though there is no prerequisite, I just want to mention that it's important for you to know the story of Ramayana, because I will not be, of course, I will be giving you background about each of the book, the story, but it will not go in depth into the story. It is expected that you know the Ramayana. At least you have read the Ramayana. If you want to look at reading the Ramayana, these are books, you know. These are Ramayana, Valmiki Ramayana, volume 1, part 1, part 2, from Sanskrit to English translation. English translation. This is from Gita Press. But today, if you are looking at Ramayanam translation in the internet, it's widely available. You can go to valmikiramayana.net and then read ramayana.org. But the coverage is only up to Yuddha Kandam, not Uttarakandam. Whereas the Gita Press, the book will have Uttarakandam. I will be providing you the readings. I will be providing you with the e-copy of the slides. There will be a lot of slides. In fact, I have taught the Ramayana for about 50 hours covering the seven books. The slides, most of the slides are available in ResearchGate. If you go to search under my name in ResearchGate, search under Ramayana, you will be able to download it. Okay, so that's there is no prerequisite. Okay. Another question, will there be prescribed readings? Yes, I will be sharing to you. I think the HUA have the LMS, right? Learning Management System.
Yeah.
So
So
once
in
you
that,
get access.
yeah, so in that
Yeah.
learning management system, you'll get an @hua.edu email address. All of your readings will be put in there week by week. You'll have access to it, and you also get access to recorded courses. If you miss a class, hopefully you want to be there so you can interact. But if you miss one, the recording will be made available through the learning management system, as will today's webinar. So everyone who registered will get a recording of today's webinar if you want that. So Ranjanji answered your question in the chat as well. Go ahead, Balaji, back to you.
Okay. Another question, can we get slides presented today via email? Okay, let me check if I can share the slides here. I can even share it here. Okay, just give me a minute. Let me search. Just give me a minute. I'll share the slide. Everyone can download this slide. Okay, since you have requested, I'm sharing it. Okay, sorry, I think there is an error. Let me try to, okay, I'm not able to share. There's some error here. Okay, what I can do is that I can email it to Ankurji and he can send it to you. He should be able to send it to you.
We'll include it as a link in the email that you'll get after this webinar. It'll have the recording, it'll have a link to the presentation, more information about the course. Yeah, we'll do that.
Okay. There are questions in the question and answer section. Will we have practical session? Practical cases will be discussed. What is needed is that you need to bring cases from your organizational context where we will try to find solution for you. Even if I'm not able to give solution, the class members, because it's going to be interaction, there will be a lot of class interactions. We will be learning from one another. So there will be some form of cases that we can discuss. And that is from Anu. A question from Anu. From Maria. Maria asked a question. Should we read Valmiki Ramayana before reading the class? I have started reading, okay, but haven't finished it. Okay, not necessarily, but if you know the flow of Ramayana, the story of Ramayana, that is fine. But if you are able to read the entire Valmiki Ramayana, usually I would suggest people to read the unabridged version of Valmiki Ramayana. Unabridged, you want to see abridged version, these are abridged version, like smaller Kamala Subramaniam. Abridged version of Ramayana is a summary, but my recommendation is always go for the unabridged, because you know, although it looks very thick, but it's Sanskrit plus English translation. Mahabharata, if you look at Mahabharata, it will be even like, I have the KMG Kishan Mohan Ganguly, and then you have the other one is the what do you call Bibet de Broy. They are volume, they come in volume. These are huge volume. That Ramayana is just in terms of size, it is 1/4. You can say 1/3 to 1/4. You should be able to read it. It's suggested to read the unabridged version. Okay, Rajendra Paul, Namaskaram. Beautiful course review. Thank you. You cover Ramji guidance on leadership. Okay. If you are aware of the text was found recently, not known to most people. Sri Ram Shamwar. No, I have not looked into that text specific that you have mentioned. Thank you, Rajendra. Okay, let me check if any more questions. Okay. Okay, this is already here. Okay, have I missed out any questions? Okay.
I think we got all of the questions. If you want to stop sharing, maybe it's time for closing thoughts. And again,
okay,
we're gonna offer a $100 discount on this course until the 20th. So you have today, tomorrow, the day after to enroll in this course that's going to elevate your leadership and management skills, right? Just this presentation, right? In order to lead, you got to be prepared. And Balaji was obviously prepared with that wonderful presentation that he's given. And in this 11-week course, you know, this quarter-long course that you're going to have access to Balaji, weekly interactions, reading, you're going to elevate yourself. And that's what we're about at Hindu University of America, creating this platform to engage and interact and give you the opportunity to take courses, interact, and learn from people like Balaji. So please enroll in this course. I'll drop the link in the chat and click those details. You can enroll right there. And again, there's a $100 discount. Let me actually add this poll. Let me just launch this poll right here. Please fill it out. Are you interested in enrolling in the course? We still have just about 50 people with us today. Please let us know. It'll make it easy for us to follow up with. So with that, Balaji, if we're not getting any more questions, maybe now is good for some closing thoughts.
Okay, thank you to every one of you who have participated in this webinar. I'm thrilled and I'm pleased to offer this course through Hindu University of America. This is my first teaching with the Hindu University of America for this course on Ramayana for excellence in management and leadership. And I hope to see you in the class. Thank you, and over to you, Ankurji.
Yeah, I mean, that is it, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We will see you on Zoom in one of our HOA classes, and hopefully this one with Balaji. I'm looking forward to continuing to grow Hindu University of America with all of you. Thank you for participating today, and have a good rest of your weekend. Thank you. Namaste. Dhanyawad.
Thank you.